You know what that means. You're back here with splash hit territory. And I'm here today with Susan Slusser, our frequent contributor and our resident expert. And so we got a lot to talk about. Most of it unpleasant, but something happened yesterday. Something happened yesterday afternoon. I'm not sure what it was. I guess I missed the whole thing. Apparently, it was not a good deal. Let's go over yesterday's. First of all, I think we need to give that some kind of nickname. Somebody's got to come up with a nickname for that ninth inning, whatever you want to call it. But let's talk about what happened yesterday against the Reds in the ninth inning when victory was assured.
Yeah, implosion is kind of what I went with. With this is my story that was online yesterday and will be in the Chronicle, etc. Interesting to see Tony Vitello, get a little bit more fiery than we've seen. We expected that a little bit more often. So there were a lot of good things in that game. That's, I think, the frustration of the Giants this year is you see the talent that's there. You see maybe the visions, and then they have a game where they hit 3 homers. Jonah Cox chips in with 1. Shea Whitcomb, who was just brought up on Monday and, has been kind of a journeyman infielder, one of those guys getting it, things are going really well. Devers with yet another splash hit. Logan Webb, Logan just seems to have the worst luck in his starts. I just, it's frustrating, right? And then this implosion, and Dylan Smith has been very good. I don't want to pin this on Dylan Smith at all. He's been fantastic. He's a rookie. He works out of that jam at Fenway Park the other day. Wonderful. Comes in yet again with the bases loaded situation. This is tough stuff for a young guy. And obviously gives up the grand slam. He said he would take that pitch back. He'd like to be ahead a little bit more. Tony Vitello pointed out he's gassed, and I don't think he was trying to point the finger at Jace Tingler for using Dylan Smith. The options, they trade back end guys in Eric Miller and Caleb Killian. And they've had some injuries. JT Brubaker's out with bruised ribs. So for back end relievers, they're a little light right now. But Dylan Smith had worked. That was his third time in 5 days. He'd thrown a lot of pitches in them. And I think Jeremy mentioned the other day when you guys were on the show together that those are high stress innings. Like that inning Dylan Smith pitched at Fenway Park, high stress innings. So then you immediately give him another one in rough situation. Anyway, I don't know, man. That was ugly. The largest loss when leading in the ninth inning in Giants history. So and the biggest comeback in the ninth for the Reds since 1958. So this was a historic proportions, and it just sort of fits.
Yeah, there's a lot to break down there. Yeah, you mentioned that that maybe Tony didn't make the call on the relief. I'm not sure. Isn't it typical for the manager to go back to his office and manage the game on the phone from his office, even though he's thrown out of the game? And by the way, let's shout out to our buddy Jeremy Affeld, who suggested a while back that next time Tony goes out there, get your money's worth. And Tony got his money's worth yesterday. I think Tony was listening to Jeremy and other people when I'm gonna be a big league manager. I'm gonna register my beef here. I'm gonna let him know how I feel. Even though it was a little bit, it was on a check swing and it was a little bit, let it go. But Tony, things were built up, so Tony was ready to rip. But in that meltdown, it was just there's so much to go over. Smith, you could say that he was maybe a little bit gassed from his previous 2 back-to-back appearances, because I know I was listening to part of it on the radio, and John Miller was saying that his pitches are down 2 or 3 miles an hour across the board, so he wasn't fully. Dylan Smith wasn't ripping it when he came in, and so many things. There were 2 bunts back to back. One of them was probably misplayed. There were a couple walks. A wild pitch. Just But I feel sorry, I think, for Dylan Smith. He comes in, boom, and basically
he's a rookie.
Gets up the big one.
He's a rookie.
Yeah, I know he's a rookie. Yeah.
Here's what I like so much about Dylan Smith. First of all, terrific guy, but handling the media after a really bad loss, and obviously this is, you could argue, one of the worst losses in team history. is tough for, especially a rookie. It's always tough for closers. It's tough. I don't know, like it's not about us. It's uncomfortable for the media. It's kind of like, it's trying to tiptoe through questions when, everyone in the room is unhappy and the spotlight's kind of on this guy that's given it up. And so you're kind of trying to navigate that. He had no excuses. He was happy to talk. He was calm, measured in responses. Just for a rookie, just a pro's pro. That was as good a media session with a guy who just had a really, really rough outing as I've ever seen. And the kind of guys that I have seen that from in the past, the guys that have jumped out, obviously Dennis Eckersley is the all-time great.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
But Houston Street had that, obviously was a very good closer for a long time. And he was a rookie closer and right from the get-go was very much a professional handling the media after a bad game. Typically, some of the better guys who are better closers, like that indicates some temperament and the professionalism, and the ability to kind of, compartmentalize a bad outing and not let it seep into other areas. So I really liked that. I really think Dylan Smith is one of the best bright spots, and there are many for the Giants this year.
Yeah. And talking about that, Tim Lincecum, not a closer, but as a guy who would, after a terrible loss, after a disaster, would stand up and basically bare his heart and not try to hide out and everything. I think it says a lot about a ball player when they can do that. Any kind of athlete that can face that kind of disaster, because that was heartbreaking. I know it's not a pennant race, it's not a World Series, but it's a big deal for him. He's a rookie. He's trying to prove himself, and he gets embarrassed. He gets put in a spot that maybe he shouldn't have been put in. And not his fault. He's a little bit off and gives that thing up. And my heart went out to him. I've never talked to the guy, but he seems, just looking at him on the mound and everything, you like the guy, right? So
yeah, great.
So sorry he had to be the fall guy. Basically.
Yeah, if people didn't read it, I wrote a story, a big feature on Dylan Smith about a week and a half ago. Talked to his mom and his grandma, very close family, single mom from when he was 5, raised him in Houston, and always a great athlete, but and very driven. And this is the first for me, Scott. He told me he taught himself to pitch by reading books. Wow. Which I just love. Yeah. And it's because he loves Satchel Paige. The All-Black Youth League team he played on in Houston, they were all required to sort of learn something about a Negro League player. Almost like do a report or something. And he chose Satchel Paige and just absolutely became obsessed with Satchel Paige. He was a very good outfielder and continued to do that throughout his youth. And a good hitter and all that kind of stuff, but he taught himself to pitch reading books. So
that's phenomenal, because most big league pitchers today, if you talk to them, they've had pitching coaches since they were 4 years old, right? And trainers and since they were in high school and all this stuff. But to be stuff that's almost like a Fernando Valenzuela story, coming out of nowhere and doing that. The Satchel Paige thing is super cool too, because I'm kind of obsessed with Satchel Paige. Just this guy who never got a chance to do what he could do, really. But it was probably the most dynamic figure in baseball at the time, other than Babe Ruth. So shout out to Dylan Smith for getting us onto history. But you think it's time to take a break here? We take a fast break and come right back?
Oh, yeah. Break time? Sure. Let's do that.
Bella, where? I don't know where Bella is, but I know how to take care of my pup.
Kratz, while you find Bella, today's episode is sponsored by the ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program. The ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program offers customizable accident and illness plans that can fit your budget, your lifestyle, and even your pet's particular quirks. Because let's be honest, vet bills can add up fast. And when it's time to submit a claim, it's easy. Just use their app and receive reimbursement for eligible vet bills directly into your bank account so you can get back to focusing on what really matters, your pet. To explore coverage, visit aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. That's aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. This is a paid advertisement. Insurance is underwritten by either Independence American Insurance Company or United States Fire Insurance Company and produced by PTZ Insurance Agency Limited. The ASPCA is not an insurer and is not engaged in the business of insurance.
Susan, you got about 20 cats. You must spend a fortune on pet insurance, right?
Yeah, two quite elderly cats, I would say. That really adds to it. Our mutual friend Marissa and Jemmy has 2 cats, and she got pet insurance and speaks very highly of it. So I think that's very well advised. So check that out if you have multiple. I mean, our friend Jeremy Affelt has how many dogs? It feels like an awful
6 or
lot.
something,
Sounds
I
like a
think.
lot. Sounds
And
like
they're
a
all big
lot
ones.
of
I think
dogs.
they're all like 300 pounders, whatever.
Exactly.
One of the things we were going to talk about is a squandered opportunity yesterday to sweep a series, and the Giants have not swept a series all season long, and that would be everybody's bringing out the old stats. Pardon me. The last time they had a season, excuse me, where they did not sweep a series was 1915. So this would be the first if they don't sweep a series the rest of the year, and they might not. There's some tough ones. It would be kind of embarrassing. I was going to look up, see if I could find some of the 1 or 2 of the players from that old 1915 team. I think they're pretty much all dead now. They would all be about.
You knew them though.
140 years
You knew
old.
a lot of those guys. Yeah.
I like the old guys, but yeah. What do you think that means much? The fact that they squandered the opportunity to get this sweep.
I don't know if it's weighing up. I don't know necessarily if players, certainly coaches, think about sweeps. Well, I mean, they do in the big picture, but day to day, it's more like, what did we do today? What did we mess up today? What do we need to do better tomorrow? But before yesterday's game, Tony Vitello was asked about the fact that they had a chance to get their first sweep and that no team had gone without a sweep with the Giants franchise since 1915. And he was like, I hadn't really thought about it until you said that, and like kind of put it in such a negative fashion. He was kind of like, what the hell? And then, of course, this happens. But like I like the fact that he showed some fire. That part was great. I do, they certainly were in good position to sweep. So, you don't get an asterisk. But here's a potential asterisk. And this is one of the weirder things. I think I do a little newsletter for the Chronicle on Tuesdays. I don't think you have to be a Chronicle subscriber to subscribe to our Giants. It's also called Splash newsletter. Everything's splish, splash, splash, splash with the Giants. I'm kind of out of topics, as you might imagine, at this point in the season, and it's been kind of a lot of the same sort of stuff. But here is something we learned the other day. The Elias Sports Bureau, which is Major League Baseball's sort of official statistics entity and arbiter of all things official stats, says the Giants already have a sweep this year. Now, hear me out. They played a 3-game series at Atlanta in June. They won 2 games, and then the third one was postponed until this coming Monday, which is why the Giants have a doubleheader on Saturday, blah, blah, blah. Elias considers the 2 games in Atlanta a win in a 2-game series, which makes no sense at all to me. And I know they are the official arbiter, but I'm going to say they are dead wrong on this, because what's Monday then? A 1-game series? I don't think you could have a series with one thing, right? Where it's a series of what then? So I'm going to say BS on that. But they do have a chance, in my mind, if not officially, to actually win a 3-game series by winning Monday at Atlanta. So that's their next shot. Little unusual.
Okay.
I mean, they could sweep the 4-game series against Arizona. Sure,
Yeah.
that seems less likely since they have no sweeps and they haven't won 4 games in a row at any point this season. But if they do, maybe I don't think that really changes the overall narrative of the season. But that certainly would be a nice little change of pace at the very least for them.
Yeah, unfortunately, the rest of the schedule, they have some tough things. They play Dodgers a lot, 6 games, but they also play the Pirates. They play the Twins, a couple teams that are both struggling. So there's sweep opportunities still out there, but that's probably the least of their problems right now. And let's talk about the fans a little bit. Yesterday's attendance was down. It was 23,000, I think, which I believe it was the second time this year it's been under 30, and that's a pretty good dip. And also, judging from the look of the stands, 23,000 is kind of optimistic. It looked like less than 23,000 in attendance. And the ones that were there, the ones that stuck around for the last inning, because a lot of people left early, thinking this thing's in the bag. Let's go have a drink across the street. So they missed a great finale that they could tell their grandkids about. But a lot of booing. They were booing. That was the loudest negative reaction that I can remember from Giants fans in quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, frustrations and highly entertaining. We've talked about this a few times on the show. Right. For a team with the kind of record the Giants have, to me, and I mean, fans probably, a lot of fans will disagree, but the most interesting, but they're not, I'm not sure they're even a bad team. For a team with these kind of results, they are endlessly interesting. They're really fascinating. Yeah. Yesterday's game was like a kind of a case in point of that, doing so many things so well and then absolutely unraveling and manager getting tossed. And it's always like a little extra drama or weirdness. That's fascinating. But the fans seem to maybe not be finding it as fascinating as I do, because the last two games were under, as you mentioned, under 30, 27,000, I think, on Tuesday night. And then yesterday was 130. And that was the lowest attendance of the season. Now it's midweek. School is back. It's against the Reds, who are not necessarily a big draw these days. So some reasons, but also, they had a big group from South Korea there. I'm not sure that pumped things up. I felt bad for them because Jung-Hoo Lee got scratched a little bit late and didn't wound up not even pinch hitting. He's fine. He's good. Well, I mean, he's got a banged up elbow. He keeps getting hit on that. He's got an elbow guard there, but man, he took a big thunk there. So as as you can imagine, with the inflammation, it's tough to straighten out that elbow. A little not super easy for an outfielder. So, I think that there are a little bit of concerns about the attendance, but clearly they have a decent season ticket base. They have some good series coming up. I'm going to be really interested to see what happens with this split doubleheader, what the attendance, because they have some fun stuff going on in that. There's a bobblehead. There's the Jeff Kent
ring
jersey retirement. Like a lot of really fun stuff on Saturday. And but who's pitching? I think your friend Matt Tugboat Wilkinson will.
There we go. Now we're talking.
That makes me happy. I know you're big on Tugboat. I think we would all like to see more of Tugboat.
Yeah.
And then it might be a bullpen game. Nobody likes the bullpen game, and I think that might be what we're looking at for this.
And by the way, I hope you've got a lawyer. If not, I can hook you up with one who can help you get the trademark on your phrase. What the most interesting awful team in baseball. I think that's great. I think that would be on T-shirts and stuff like that. And I think I think that case could be made. There's all the stuff we're talking about. The stuff seems really interesting. I know it's tough to just go out and spend $50 on a ticket to go out and see it, maybe. But I don't know if you're watching on TV or just paying attention. It's just kind of fascinating stuff. And Tugboat's part of that. So, but I think remember how Pat Riley in the old days with the Lakers, he patented three-peat. Or you got a trademark on it or something like that. So I don't know if he ever collected royalties, but I just don't want to see you leave a lot of money out on the table.
That's true. Well, our friend Tommy Bonk was the guy who first came up with Phi Slamma Jamma, and he did not trademark it, and it still gets used. So come on, Tommy.
That was what 40 plus years ago, and I still every time I see Tommy, I think, man, that was genius. That was a moment of brilliance. So, and he's a brilliant guy anyway. But yeah.
Among the best. Let's take a quick break because when we come back, we've got more to break down with this most interesting, awful team.
It's time to remind everyone why baseball is glorious, especially nowadays where you could think your team is out of it, but they might be back in it again. Let me introduce you to the American League wildcard, KP, and let's tell everyone why they might need to head back to SeatGeek, grab some more tickets for what is a playoff race before the playoffs actually begin.
Well, speaking about being out of it, I'm an American League East guy, and I'm talking to you Toronto fans. I'm talking to you Baltimore fans. A couple weeks ago, probably not a reason to come out to the games. Look at the standings right now. Both of you teams are right back in this wild card race.
Rangers fans. We can go on and on. Mariners fans, you might be feeling a little queasy, but you're still in this thing too. So all of you should head to SeatGeek and get yourself 10% off your next set of MLB tickets. 10% off MLB tickets with the promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so that you can use it later.
All right, we're back. Susan, let's talk a little bit about Rafael Devers.
Yeah.
Poor guy. He started, poor guy, whatever. He's not poor, but he
He's
started.
definitely not poor.
Yeah. Horrible start, horrible April. And part of it was because an injury kind of set him back in spring training. So didn't come in full steam. So maybe that he hasn't used that as an excuse, but that's a possible excuse if you're looking for one. Picked up steam recently. Had the incident at first base where he didn't want to come out of the game for a pinch hitter. And that put a bad mark out there. And now he's picking up steam. He's looking like his old self, like the guy that Giants hoped to get when they got him. And even now he's kind of come under fire a little bit because some people are saying, "Oh, great, now you get hot. Now when the games don't mean anything, we're out of this and stuff like that. Now you're heating up." Well, I'm not sure guys can always control when they get in sync and all that stuff. But what we're seeing now is a legitimate star player, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, he's always been a slow starter. That's his MO, and that's not atypical for sluggers. Kind of cold early on, and all those kind of excuses you hear. But that has been his track record, and I'm sure he would love to have had a 10-homer April. Where would he be right now? My goodness! But I would say it's more likely than not he will hit his 30th homer before the Giants go back on the road with these 4 games. Just the way he's been going. The thing that there are a couple of things that jump out to me. Yesterday's game, the Giants had that big lead. He was the only guy in the lineup who was in the opening day lineup. There were 4 guys in the lineup who were not with the Giants in big league spring training. That's astonishing. That's really astonishing. But he has played in every single Giants game this year. And his current games played streak is 296, I believe. That's third most in baseball. That's I don't care what your feelings are about Rafael Devers. That's really impressive. The guy posts and he has, we've been joined by Noel. Say bye, Noel.
Is that cat insured?
This one's insured.
Okay.
No one's insured. She needs it. She's a troublemaker. Among the other things that I like about Devers, he's an underrated, really good base runner. He's as good going first to third as anybody, and he gets a bad rap for people say like, oh, he doesn't hustle all the time. She really wants her screen time. He really she's poking me in the back now. Okay. Oh my god. And like you don't have to. I was talking to Jonah Cox about this yesterday. You don't have to be the fastest guy on the team to be a good base runner. He's not fast, but he is really technically a very good base runner. So
that's why he didn't want to come out that time.
He gets dinged a little bit for things like attitude, not talking to the media, all of that. But he is showing.
Speaking of that, do you think? I was just going to say, do you think he's kind of paying attention to that, and he's aware of that, and he's kind of making an effort to, kind of, for lack of a better term, live down that image. He's reaching out to guys, to teammates. He's kind of helping out with the rookies. He's looking like a real team player recently.
Yeah, I think that's probably been in him, and it just doesn't necessarily show up quite as much as it does when he's the only leader, really, kind of among the position players who's healthy right now. Adames is on the IL, Chapman's on the IL. Devers is it, but he really is showing it. And when we were in Boston over the weekend, there was so much focus on him. And he said twice in his talk with the Boston and San Francisco media before the first game, how much he feels like he's matured. And I think he meant since he left Boston and there was a whole flap over not playing first base. Yeah. But I think we're seeing there at that. When he went over and put his arm around Nate Furman after Furman struck out, and still didn't have a big league hit. And you could tell it was kind of wearing at him. He went, put his arm around him, had a little chit chat for him, and said basically it was kind of a keep your chin up, you're doing great, kid, kind of thing. He gets a single in his next at bat, his first big league hit. So, in talking to the young hitters on Monday night in the hitters meeting specifically, I think we are seeing maybe a guy who's done some of those things behind the scenes a little bit more, but without the other veterans around him. And even Bryce Eldridge has a lot of leadership skills, I think, but he's a rookie. He's very young. He's gone too. He will be back. So today against Arizona, Bryce Eldridge will be back off bereavement leave. Very sorry that he lost his granddad, but he will be back. Jung-Hoo Lee might be back in the lineup, so maybe a little bit more. But this is a time there are opportunities for so many other guys. And we should mention even, and I touched on it slightly with the pitching and the bullpen, everything's so thin. There's so many injuries and guys who've been traded that it's really hard to take much from some bad losses and more look at it as this is a chance to look at all these other guys and great opportunities. Braxton Roxby, who is not even on the Giants' radar, wasn't in big league camp. He gets called up yesterday. He hasn't appeared in a game yet. He will be the first ever alumni of Pittsburgh Johnstown in the big leagues the first time he appears. So he's, these are the kind of guys that we might never have seen except for the situation the Giants are in. And who knows? Maybe they've uncovered a gem with one of these guys. It could be really fun to see again. I find this stuff super interesting, but maybe not everyone does.
Is there a new substation next to Oracle Park is causing this? It is really freaky. There's a lot of injuries. I know baseball's injury sport, and Rafael Devers is kind of an outlier, and pitchers get hurt all the time. But you've got 2 games in a row for the Giants where their starting pitcher went out with an injury in the first 2 or 3 innings, and back to back, and that just doesn't happen. And on top of all that, this is like a Tommy John factory or something. It's crazy, but it just seems like the injury thing is way more than in past years.
I'm not sure fans want to hear this. I think the Giants actually had been fortunate in other years that their rate, particularly of UCL issues, was not quite as much as some other teams. Whenever there's a run of these kind of injuries, especially kind of together, Trevor McDonald and then Carson Wisenhunt both now needing Tommy John surgery in the span of less than a month. They're like, what's the team doing wrong? Is it the trainers? Is it the pitching coach? It's not these things. The study after study shows, well, first of all, pitching is not good for your arm. I mean, flat out. That they have done MRIs of young pitchers who don't exhibit any sort of problems, and those MRIs show significant damage. It's just bad for your arm. But kids specialize way too young. And back in our day, Scott, everybody played different sports. There was not travel ball. Travel ball is great, I think, maybe for position players. It's not so good for pitchers. Youth coaches, some of them don't know how to use pitchers. So sometimes they're letting them throw pitches. Maybe they're not old enough. Maybe the growth plates, all those kind of things. But it's really the usage at a young age. Amateur level college coaches are kind of infamous for using up pitchers. It's been a problem for a long time, and everyone trying to throw 100. There are a lot of factors here, but that's the usage from a young age is, to me, the biggest thing. And really, parents need to be aware that travel ball for pitchers is not necessarily ideal. Give your kids a break of at least 3, 4, 5 months to do something else and use other muscles and develop other skills. That's great for kids and for eventual pro careers in something anyway. So that's what it is. It's not mechanics now. Like teams Justin Verlander has the most perfect mechanics of the last decade or two, and he's had Tommy John. It's just wear and tear. That's all it is. And 40% of pitchers get Tommy John surgery at some point. 40%.
That's super crazy. And you're right, but the problem is that if you don't let little Junior be on the travel team and pitch every day for 12 months out of the year, then he doesn't get the shot. And he goes to high school and they say, no, you're not on the travel team. You can't play. And you got to get on this fast track. It's almost like you're forced into it. And I don't know, the only way is to grow up in Venezuela or something where they don't wear people down. But
and those are money-making things too. I think that there's
absolutely. It's a scam. It's the industry.
Yeah.
It's big little league, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
High school coaches, college scholarships, things like that should not ride on being on a travel ball team or not. It really shouldn't, especially for pitchers. So I don't necessarily care for that. And it also means that it's kids with means and kids without means are kind of left on the sidelines.
Absolutely.
And that's not great either. So maybe more smart. Kids should play everything anyway. If you're playing baseball year round, that's your job. Like that's not fun. There's only a few kids that want to play one thing year round, I think. So
there's so much pressure on you though. Yeah. I bet you're cats. I bet you let them play with the ball one day. The next day they're going to play with a little toy mouse or something like that. You got to mix it up, right? Yeah.
They very much decide what they want to do at all times.
We don't want to dwell on the race to avoid 100 losses necessarily. That's still going to be in play for the next couple of weeks. But what about just briefly? What about the A's thing? They're like a game and a half ahead of the A's. Do players ever care about that, or fans ever care about that? That now the A's are gone, but they're still kind of lurking. So that's nobody cares, right?
I see where you're going, Scott. I don't think so. I certainly don't think that the players would ever think that. I'm sure that they're,
right, you're right.
If you live in the Bay Area and your best buddy's an A's fan and still paying attention to the A's, which, certainly I would say almost maybe the majority of Bay Area A's fans have jumped off board. Certainly I know zillions of A's fans and very few of them are still following the team. But if you got a friend that is, and maybe it's a bragging rights kind of thing, but what kind of bragging rights are those? Like my last place team is better than your fourth place team.
That's true.
Whatever. And the American League is just a kind of a joke this year anyway. The possibility of sub 500 teams in the postseason is not the way things are supposed to go. But
we should close on a kind of a positive note. We had the
do you have one?
Weekend coming up. We got the interesting doubleheader. We've got Tugboat coming back. We got Bryce Eldridge coming back. Maybe we're going to see Meyer. Might see
maybe
that'll be interesting. A lot of new kids. Got to see if Jonah Cox can keep things going. And so there's stuff to watch, and fans can come out and this is their chance to boo. It's probably good for your lungs, to get that stuff.
Well, and the Jeff Kent day, that'll be super fun on Saturday. Like that's one of the neatest things we've seen in Giants land for a while. Is like tough as nails. Jeff Kent getting emotional every time, so I'm looking forward to him. Again, kind of get a little misty.
That has been one of the coolest things in recent days, that the Jeff Kent phenomenon, because we all remember him as a guy who, sometimes he'd help you out. Other times he'd be kind of gruff and grumpy and crabby, and he always had this tough guy game face on, and now he's just like the most pleasant, the most grateful guy that he's been honored in this. I'm not a huge Hall of Fame guy, and in that, okay, if you don't make it in the Hall of Fame, you're still great and all that stuff, so you shouldn't worry about it. But to see a guy like him just embrace that and just be overcome with the joy and the emotion of being accorded that honor, it's cool. He's like a different guy, and it's super refreshing. Yeah, of course he's not going to have his game face on now. He hasn't played in 20 years, but that's been fun to watch too. So
he's having so much fun with it, and not everyone does. Like some guys either just don't kind of care that much, or they're a little bitter that it took so long, and certainly it did take a long time for Jeff Kent, despite being maybe the best offensive second baseman, well, certainly of his generation, but maybe over the last 40-50 years. And he has just really, he's embraced it, and the showing emotion and the appreciation. I think with Giants fans there, and again, I hope there are a lot of people there, I think he's really going to get choked up. So that's so cool.
Yeah, to see a grown man shed a tear for a good reason, I think that's great. So, all right, so we got some stuff to look forward to and some stuff to talk about when we get together again, which will be soon. and with our buddy Jeremy Halfelt too. He'll be coming back soon. And so that's it. I guess we'll wrap it up. And this is another edition of Splash Hit Territory. And we appreciate you folks all joining us. And Susan and I and Jeremy, we'll see you soon.